Good morning. I'd like to welcome our viewers on Arkan and our commissioners to the quarterly meeting of the Arkansas PBS Commission. We're glad you're with us today. We'll start with approval from the minutes of the last meeting.
I move that we approved as submitted.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had notes on the previous meetings. One in particular was we did a voice vote at the, is this just for the previous, is for all the previous meetings?
It's just for the, I
The
think,
minutes from the March 6th.
from the March 6th meeting.
Then will we approve the minutes from the special meetings as well?
I believe
Oh.
they're in there.
I don't
don't
think we had
know.
any minutes from the special
Yeah,
meeting.
We
I
did.
didn't know if we'd had minutes from that.
They're in the
There
packet.
is.
I don't know.
Well,
mean,
should
Talking
we,
about the
I mean,
exhibit
should we,
Okay, so the one on the table of contents, March 6th, April 21st, May 6th, May 20th. Let's see if those are all in there. Yes, they are all four in there. So it's the three special meetings and the March 6th. So the March meeting, the quarterly meeting, the April 21st,
So you just need to make an
Seven.
amendment to one of them and we'll vote for it.
May 6th, and May 20th.
so the question was, are we approving all of the minutes collectively, or are we going minutes by minutes?
I'd say let's do it collectively, unless
Okay.
you'll make a motion to approve.
Well, in that regard, I have there's a correction.
Okay.
I raised it in a point of order in the last executive, not at the executive meeting, but in the last meeting, I believe it was the May 20th. But it was recorded incorrectly. When there is a voice vote, the individual votes are not differentiated. If it's a roll call vote, they are. And so, as a result, the minutes are incorrect as to the voice vote on the May 20th minutes.
Okay. Won't you make a motion that we approve all of the special executive meeting minutes as well as correct the May 20th? Is that?
And are we clear on what the correction should be?
We actually did correct it on the others. That's why you got the revised one yesterday. The commission got the revised where we took out that number count because it was a voice count. So when Katie sent it to you, I think we just missed this one when you got.
Okay, and I
Yeah,
obviously
and
did.
we apologize. We
That's all
must have
right,
missed
but
that
that's why
one.
we approved the
Sure.
minutes.
Yes.
And in that regard, I do have a question to raise regarding minutes, and it may be not appropriate for the approval, but it's something I have to raise at this point. In my experience, minutes should be action taken. We have the technology that we record these meetings. We have the technology to transcribe them. So when a description is made about the minutes, it naturally has editorializing when it's describing conversations, discussions of any particular issue. So my recommendation would be we need to write minutes as though they're being read 10 years from now, and as though there is no context, and it needs to be only action taken. Where there's a great narrative description of the interchange between the chairman and me about what it's about. I think that's inappropriate. I think we have that. We can have that in a transcript. We have that, and it doesn't, in my view, doesn't accurately describe what took place. So that would be one thing.
Okay.
The other is just a consistency. If we're going to use names in the minutes, it should be the same throughout. It should not be first names, sometimes Commissioner so-and-so, other times it should not be Mr. Ms., other times. It should be consistent in how we are addressing the individual members of the commission. But I think this will, if we go to only action taken, I think it'll be a much more accurate record of what happens at the commission, and it's also makes it easier on somebody like me who disagrees with how things are described.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I know I've been in board situations before where the narrative and what was discussed has been very helpful in, in the future, but I see the point that you're making. So.
It is, but think about this, we're recorded. The actual discussion, people can go back and look at it. There's the technology to do a transcript of it so you see exactly what it was. But if the burden is constantly falling, in this case, falling on the members to then go in and edit how the description comes out in minutes, I think it's just going to raise challenges to that sort of thing going forward,
Okay.
at least in my case.
Anybody else have any comments on board minutes?
I think
I
those are
tend to
strong
agree
points.
that they ought to be action taken.
Okay. Ann, were you going to say something?
I agree.
Okay. Why don't you make that your second motion? Is
Well,
that
there's a
okay?
motion on the
There's a
floor.
motion on the floor to accept them as submitted.
Right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
right now.
Okay. And, okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept the March 6 minutes as submitted. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Let's count those votes. I said aye. Woody said aye. Gary, nay. Nay.
Aye.
Nay. Nay. Okay, it looks like the motion fails.
I was an aye, just to be clear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I voted in favor of it.
In
And all
favor.
three, and they did.
Okay, hang on.
You need to watch the
And I'm
monitor.
confused about I thought we had a substitute motion, so I'm a little confused. Apologize.
And we had 2 vote for it on the Zoom, is that right? Cindy and?
Yes.
Okay. And Ann voted against it. Okay.
No,
And
Ann
voted for it.
Oh, for it, I'm sorry. I think I've got 4-2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You need to
6,
call for the
7.
vote again, just to make sure.
Yeah, okay, let's call a vote again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
it was mentioned about a substitute motion. Would you accept a substitute motion?
Certainly.
Okay. I move that we would table the minutes until those corrections could be made, and then we approve them at our next meeting.
No problem with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a substitute motion made that the March 6 minutes be tabled until we approve them and just address action issues
At the next meeting.
at the next meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 All against say nay.
Aye.
Okay, you got it. Okay, now, you want to cover the rest of the minutes, Gary? Make a motion.
Should we do them individually?
If you think we need to, but I'd say we do them all the same.
I just need clarification. It was said that the minutes of the May 20th meeting were corrected. Is that accurate?
I believe those are the ones that we need to correct. That's
Oh.
the one that actually names.
Who would it?
Yes.
Okay.
So the others did not name it, but that one did.
Okay. Then my motion would be to, in regard to the minutes of May 20th, the results are that the motion carried, but that there was not a roll call of the individual votes of the commissioners. So simply, it's the motion carried.
And I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay. I'm sorry, motion been made, it been carried, and Woody has seconded it.
Yes.
So, okay. And what about the rest of them now?
That was the only note I had on the special meeting ones.
Okay. So you don't make a motion to approve the rest of the executive meeting?
Will we have this motion?
Oh, was that just it?
That
I
was
just
to,
second his motion.
yes. So
Okay, okay, gotcha.
To
gotcha. I'm
correct
sorry.
the May 20th.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, moving on. We have a full agenda today.
We need to vote on that. Will.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Mr. Chairman.
We should take the motion again.
Yes, the minutes of the May 20th meeting should be corrected to reflect that the motion carried and that individual commissioners aren't listed for their aye or nay votes.
And I second it.
Wait a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Now, what about the rest of the executive?
I move that we approve the rest of the executive committee minutes.
Okay, a motion's been made that we approve all the executive committee meetings except for the one that we just voted on, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay, and it passes. Okay, we have a full agenda today. I know some commissioners have got to have a hard stop at noon, so we're gonna move as fast as we can. First on the agenda will be an FOI training from the Attorney General's office, and then we're also going to have I'm a lady named Jody Keene, and then we're also going to have Will Puttyfat talk about the selection of the future executive director and what he's found. We've had a pretty good week working together on that. It's all law stuff. We also plan to meet an executive session regarding certain personnel matters, and so we'll need time for proper discussion of that. And if time constraints prevent the staff from sharing the reports, updates on all motions and questions from the March 6th Commission meeting will be addressed in writing following today's meeting. With that, I'd like to introduce Jody Keene with the Attorney General's office.
Thank
Keener.
you. Yeah.
Keener, I'm
It is-
sorry.
It's Jody Keener, that's okay. My maiden name is Hill, and everyone's like, you sound like heel of your foot, not Little Mountain Hill, so it's okay, Keener. But I'm Jody Keener, I'm with the Attorney General's office. I'm here today to talk to you about the FOIA, but we've kind of narrowed it down a little bit to just the executive session about the FOIA and how you transition from executive session from your public meetings and special meetings. So I've handed out some paperwork for you, and I'm going to attempt to use our stuff here. So this is about executive sessions. So the purpose of the FOIA is that we always want the public to be fully advised of the activities of your boards and your decisions and how you came to those decisions. They want to know how you came to them. So when we're looking at the FOIA, we want to interpret its provisions very liberally, very broadly as we can. And that's how courts and the Attorney General's office have done that. And when we come up against some kind of exemption or exceptions, we want to look at those narrowly or as small as we can. Again, because of the purpose, we're trying to give the public as much information as we can. So when you're talking about meetings, they have a three-step approach. Is the entity covered? So is your board covered? It's a public board, so of course it's covered, but a few places it's a little bit, that part's confusing, but you guys are for sure. Is the meeting covered? So certain kinds of meetings don't have to be in public. They've recently changed the law about that. But most of your meetings, the majority of them, yeah, they're going to be covered. And then you would address whether there's any exemptions. So what is a meeting? And this is what's recently changed, but as of right now, this is how we approach what is a meeting. So any gathering of two or more people where you meet, and you'll see that the meet is in quotation marks. So meeting doesn't mean I saw another board member down at the store and we talked about the game. That's not a meeting. A meeting is where you discuss board business. So that's how I've been approaching it. Another way you can constructively have a meeting is if I start emailing board members to ask you, what do you think about this topic that we would normally discuss at a board meeting? So that could be constructively a meeting, even though you're not in the same place at the same time. You may not even be responding to each other at the same times. So emails, text messages, any kind of group chats can be a constructive meeting if you are discussing board business. So now we have Act 505 that they just recently passed that is going to go into effect August 5th. And all they really did was put it directly into law, what I just explained. So a public meeting is any formal gathering together where it's a regular meeting or a special meeting, whether it's in person or remotely. And then you have your informal meetings, which is, again, I ran into a board member down at the store and we just discussed the game. We're not doing public business. And a poll is that series of communications where I'm sending a text message, I'm sending emails, and we're talking back and forth to do board business in some other way. It can also be in person, to where I come to each person and say, hey, what are you thinking about this that's about to come up? That's called a poll. So under
Quick
505.
Question. Is it, I know it's not part of the law, but is it advisable that when say staff are emailing the commission, to do it in a blind copy and not with everybody, because you resist replying to all and having a member of the commission inadvertently start talking about business?
Sure.
And weighing in?
That is one way to address it. I think it probably happens quite often where somebody starts talking and telling you their thoughts about something. So it's inherent on the rest of you to just go, hey, we've got to wait till the next meeting. So I think that kind of stuff probably happens more than we want it to. But as long as you stop it and go, no, we've got to do this on the record online so that everybody can know we can't do this on the back end. You've corrected the action there, and I think you'd be okay. But if you think the blind copy so that they don't do, that's one way to try to address it, yes.
Well, it takes the burden off a commission member to call
Sure,
down another
sure.
commission member.
Right, yeah.
If it's just not, there's just not the
Right.
opportunity.
No, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, I don't have a
okay.
problem with it. It's just not something we've addressed specifically to say this is definitely how to do it.
Understand.
It sounds like a good option, though, yes.
Jody, you mentioned a minute ago, there were some meetings that are not covered.
Yes.
What are those meetings that are not covered?
I'm going to, that's in one of the
Okay.
next couple slides. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, here we go. So get back to polls, those are prohibited. If you know or reasonably know that this is what you're doing, then you've got to stop. Any deliberations outside of your public meeting is prohibited. So that's, again, whether you meet one person, or you're trying to send out emails or whatever. Informal meetings where you discuss board business is strictly prohibited. So again, if you run into each other and you're just having a friendly conversation about what's happening at UCA or what's happening in politics in general, that's totally fine. That's not board business. But if you stray into board business, now you're having a meeting and you can't be discussing that outside of the formal procedures.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to see this screen fully, and it's chopping it off for me. Can anybody, or any of y'all, Annette, Cynthia, are y'all able to make that full screen? I'm trying to make sure.
Looks like it. I feel like I can see it all. I just have it in the, in the block that is just like a person's.
Okay, maybe I shrank it just now. Maybe that'll work. Okay, let's try again.
Okay.
Sorry.
So with the Act 505, the General Assembly has said a couple of these things are not public meetings. So they've just defined them as not public meetings. So if you're ever involved in a court order dispute resolution, like from a lawsuit that you're trying to settle, that is not now a public meeting. The Child Maltreatment Investigation Committee, it used to be an exemption and now it's just defined as not a public meeting. So these are the executive sessions. So these are the ones that are exemptions that we talk about. So the other ones are defined as not public meetings. These are still public meetings, but they have exemptions, okay? So if you are part of, say, the Arkansas Bar Association, and you are talking about, hey, the questions on the bar exam and the answers, that doesn't have to be out in the open. If you are part of a municipal water group. You don't have to talk about your security in a public meeting. And you can see where they've striked through that. It used to be this exemption, now it's just not even defined as a meeting. Personnel matters, that's the big one, and we're going to talk about that more next. And the new one that they've added is this cybersecurity, because it's such a big deal. We don't want to talk about our cybersecurity out in a public meeting where anybody can come back and review it, read the notes, whatever from it. It totally defeats the purpose of cybersecurity. So these are the general personnel matters that you might want to meet in an executive session. So you're hiring, firing, appointing, resigning. Oops, sorry, too far. There we go, back to that. We're going to promote somebody, we're going to demote somebody, or we're needing to discipline somebody. So what's important to remember here is that this is an individual person, not a group of people. So if you're thinking, oh, we're not having as much revenue as we used to have, we need to figure out how to reduce our support staff. That's talking about a group of people, as opposed to, oh, Renee made this mistake, and now we need to talk about, do we need to demote her? Do we need to fire her? That's an individual. So you would come into executive session to talk about that. Some other matters that involve individual employees or officers that you would meet in executive session if you're going to screen and review applications for position, if you want to consider discharging or disciplining an employee, if you want to review an employee's performance, if that review might lead to a promotion, demotion, or a change compensation. You can also go into executive session to do a non-binding vote of confidence about an employee. The purpose of that meeting is to consider whether you want their continued employment to continue, or any other kind of personnel action. But on the other hand, what cannot be discussed in executive session is, again, discussing general salary matters, across the board pay increases, or overall performance of employees as a group. Also, you can't go into executive session to discuss the criteria for a particular position or establish procedures for filling that position. That needs to be out in the public meeting. So again, back to the individual officer employee, not them as a group. So, okay. So when
Okay,
go ahead.
I want to make sure I've got this straight. We can't discuss change in compensation for groups as a whole,
That's it.
but individuals we can.
Yes, because that is generally related to their employment. So it's almost like an employment evaluation.
Okay.
So under the FOIA, that's always exempt. So if it's a written record, that's usually exempt. If you're discussing it, it's exempt.
Gotcha.
So that's a very private matter, how somebody's doing at their job, right? Okay. Okay. So here's the procedure for when you need to do an executive session for a personnel matter. You put it in your meeting agenda. That's how you give notice to the public. Then before you go into the executive session, you make the announcement to the group during the session and say, we're going into executive session to discuss hiring this person for this job. Then we're going to talk about the limited attendance. Everybody cannot attend, so anybody that might be here, they can't attend that executive session, right? And then once you're done with your executive session, you have to come back out to the public meeting to do your vote, okay? I keep forgetting it has these little things in there. Go ahead.
I mean, Will and I had a discussion one time. He said that we said we'll go into executive discussion meeting. Does anybody have any objection? Do we say that?
I think that's fine. I mean, it's,
I recommend it.
Yeah.
I did recommend that just to make sure that if anybody,
Okay.
had an issue, but
right.
ultimately the FOIA is going to determine, but I thought that was something good for
Yeah.
everybody to.
That's more like how the board operates together as opposed to how FOIA operates, if that makes sense. It's always good if the board agrees to go in, agrees to go into executive session. So we talked about the notice. You always have to tell whether it's a regular meeting or a special meeting. There's different notice requirements. I'm sure Will has gone over those with you. Those haven't changed. Regular meetings, got to give the time and place. Did anybody ask? Special emergency meetings, 2 hours in advance to the news media when they've, and anybody else that's asked to be notified. Okay, personnel matters, make that announcement. It's got to be specific. It's got to be in public for the reasons we discussed. So here's the limited attendance. Who can attend by right? They get to attend no matter what. All the members of your board. This includes people who are like your secretaries or your treasurers who are there. They're more of an employee, but they're still part of the board, right? This is, and then who can attend by invitation?
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Who's ex officio on this commission?
I'm not sure, because I'm not sure of your makeup of your thing. Do you know who would be an ex officio? I looked up an example. That's how I got it, because
I don't know the list off the top of my head.
Right.
But I'd need to.
sometimes, you know, like when you have a mayor and the city council, kind of one, the mayor is an ex officio of the city council. So that's something I think of. But so it just depends on the makeup of your board. It's not, yeah. So who can attend by invitation? The interviewee for whoever is for the top administrative position. And then if you're talking about employee matters, then the top administrator, the employee's immediate supervisor, and an employee, and the employee, it's him or herself. Who cannot attend? Everybody else, including attorneys and other licensed professionals. I mean, it may sometimes seem helpful to have a CPA in there or an attorney in there to help, and you just can't have it. They just will not allow it. Then you come back and you have your public vote. So if you don't have the public vote, it's like it didn't happen, it's void. So this is about groups that are giving out different exams. It's not you don't give out exams, do you? Okay. Different licensure stuff. Let's see, cybersecurity, you might care about that. So if you've had a cyber attack and you need to go and discuss what happened, you can go into executive session. Again, I think this one you do not have to announce it. You just say, we're going into executive session, I believe is what it says. You can no attendance or announcement limitations. There it is, yeah. So what happens if you mess this up? So it's void if there's no public vote, but non-compliance and other actions could be voidable, but the court's going to think about it. So if an employee says, well, you didn't do it right, and you fired her or him, that person may not get their job back over it. So the court's not going to just give them their job back because you messed up. The remedy is going to vindicate the public, not the individual person. It also matters whether it was a substantial violation and whether you knowingly violated the act. And usually, go back to that, usually if you got to give a chance to go back and fix it. So if you made a voice vote, you know, in executive session, but you forgot to come here, and then somebody was like, oh, we didn't do it, and then you came in here and fixed it, there's lots of chances to fix it in the FOIA. So that matters to courts if you tried to fix it.
So I see there's, I mean, we could make a mistake by having a wrong person in the meeting, and make a mistake by not having a formal vote with the whole commission.
Right.
And what other mistakes could we make?
I guess probably the notice requirement that you need to give the notice. And I think giving the specific reason, especially for personnel matters, is one that people mess up. And they go, we're just going into executive session to talk about personnel matters. And that's not specific enough. I need to know who you're talking about hiring, you know, or at least tell me who the personnel is and what job it's for, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Public notice, we need to give that detail.
I don't know that it needs to be in the notice. It needs to be in the announcement you make before you go into public session, into executive session.
And Jody, when you're talking, you're talking about the position and the name of the specific position and the name of the person?
I think, yes, I would think either one or the other. I mean, I think we talked about if you're considering applications and you say, we're going to go into executive session to consider the applications we received for this position. I think that's fine. But see, you've been very specific about the position. And then now at the end, you may be saying, we're considering hiring this person for this position, and we're going to executive session. I mean, you're going to come back out and do the voice vote at the end. So it's not like you can really keep it hidden for long anyway. So, right, I would just be as specific as you think you can be before you go into executive session.
Let me ask you, if we have a question that we need to ask a staff member, can we invite a staff member in?
No, not unless you're considering hiring, promoting, firing, one of those things. No.
Okay. I mean, just to comment on one issue.
Sure.
You know, I mean.
Yeah, I hear
we
you.
can't have them in.
No, no. So that would be best to be done in your regular meeting or by a written report.
Okay.
But then remember that written report is now, unless it's evaluating somebody's employment, that's now public record. So, right, there's just very limited things that you can keep out of the public
Gotcha.
because you're a public entity. So, okay, anything else? I thought somebody,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, that's me,
Okay.
Cindy Nance.
Who's gonna handle it?
I would just like you to talk through the process again. When you were talking about hiring, like when you're in and when you're out. And I'm just not clear on that. In other words, when you're in executive session and when you're out. I thought I heard you say you can say we're going in to consider, but then you come out and you announce who. I'm just not clear. Will you talk through that
okay,
again?
sure. So, just for example, say we've decided we want to consider Jody Keener to be our executive director, right? So you make the announcement, we're going into executive session to consider, we want to hire Jody Keener to be our executive director. Then you stop the recording and you stop all the stuff so that you guys can have that discussion behind closed doors to whether you want to hire me or not, right? And so that goes on however long that goes on until you guys decide you've had enough discussion about it and you're ready to go vote. So once you've decided you're ready, you've talked enough and you want to go vote, then you come back out here and you don't move because it's all in the same room, I think, right? And you just turn all the lights on, you turn all the recording equipment back on and say, okay, we're back into our public meeting. We're ready to have the vote decide, are we going to hire Jody Keener to be, in this position? Then you have the public vote. If it's, everybody says A, then it was the roll call vote. If it wasn't the roll call, it's the other one. But if it wasn't enough, then you want to go roll call so we know who voted for it and who voted against it, and that's the public record. Is that
Okay.
answer you?
That as to
Do
it.
it once you're in or do you have to come back out and add if you want to add to it, or can you only have one topic?
I would say you probably only need to have one topic at a time. And you do have to announce it unless it's one of those that says you don't. So cybersecurity, you don't. Personnel matters, you do. So right, you can't go into executive session to consider the 4 applicants for the thing, for the position, and then go ahead and decide who you're going to hire right then. You need to come back out and say, okay, we've made this decision, or we've considered it, and now we want to go ahead and decide we're going to vote. We're going to go back into executive session to decide if we're going to hire X person for the position. And then you can go back into executive session, do that, then come back out. Once you're done talking, come back out, then do the vote. That's public. The vote has to be public.
Yeah, I understand
Okay.
that, but every
I would say
decision,
yes.
the executive session can only focus on that one decision, come out, do it publicly, go back in and have a different discussion.
That is the safest way to do it, because otherwise you're in this extended executive session. Nobody knows why you're in there, and now the public's mad, and they're going to be like, you said this, and then you guys went in there and did a whole bunch of stuff. So we always want the public to be aware of what we're doing. It needs to always be limited. So yes, I would just come back and forth if you're actually needing to cover 2 or 3 things.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I know it's complicated, yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have some guides to interpretation on the Attorney General's website. There is this Freedom of Information Act handbook. We just recently updated that. Then there's this lovely book right here. I brought it with me. You can see that I have it marked because I go into it a lot. But this is a really good handbook to have. And then you can go to our website. There's a section that's called Opinions and FOIA. That's where I work. There's a search capability on there, so you can search for executive session. You can search for all kind of different things. And that is it. Any more questions?
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good job.
We kept it pretty short, yeah, considering. Okay, thank you.
Now, we've already met Will Puttyfat before, but he's back before us, and he's going to explain the murky world of choosing an executive director.
All right, well, yeah, I'm glad to be here in person to do this instead of see y'all as little boxes, but I want, yeah, it can be murky if you get into all the policy and history and stuff, but I'm going to try and make it as simple today for the purposes that the commission is here for. And then if there are any follow-up questions, y'all can ask away, and if I need to research and get back, I'm happy to do that. But generally speaking, the Arkansas PBS is an independent agency. You function independently, but you're under the umbrella of the Department of Education. And y'all know the AETC was created in 1961. There was an act in 1971 that consolidated some state agencies under various cabinet-level departments. At that time, and this took a little bit of research in our office, but it says that under this Act 38, it says the Educational Television Commission and its functions, powers, and duties are transferred by a Type 4 transfer to the Department of Education and located in a new educational television division. So when you look at there's a statute that says what that entails as a Type 4 transfer, and that's helpful here because it lays out, sort of basically how the commission would go about naming a director, and it says the director shall be nominated by the commission subject to confirmation by the governor. And so the commission is integral to this process. In fact, you could say they're effectively selecting the person they're discussing, and then they're offering that to the governor's office for approval. So that's I understand that we have effectively a nomination, and now it will be for the governor to confirm that choice. So later the commission may make a motion to contact the governor's office, to consider this nomination is how I see it. So that's a very basic level, just a little bit of history. Are there any questions on that part?
I mean, it's no matter what we do, the governor's going to be involved. That's the way I see it.
That's right, yeah. The governor's going to, until the governor, I think, approves, then you don't want the interim director or full-time director acting in that office, because now you're opening up, some legal problems if it's, the person doesn't have the authority, or you don't even want to let that argument be made. So I think until we hear back from the governor, we don't want to be signing any contracts or anything until that time. Yeah.
It's ironic, it's just the reverse for the Department of Education.
Yeah.
The governor chooses the secretary, and then the State Board of Education essentially advises and consent or confirms the governor's selection. So are there other state commissions that operate in that same way?
There's a lot of state commissions, and I'm sure there are some
that choose their own?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
Sure.
speak, but there's so many, and that I doubt this is the only commission that chooses it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any guidance on how to solicit those candidates?
Based on the language we're dealing with, I don't think there's a requirement on how if there's a solicitation. I think it's the commission will nominate somebody for confirmation. And so now, I have not seen the commission rules, which I'd like to, unless y'all have created your own rules that we proceed in this manner. That would then in that case you would, but, you know, I haven't seen that, but I do need to see, and, you know, we need to make sure that the rules are, you know, complied with as well.
Gotcha. Any other questions? Thank you, Will. We appreciate that.
Welcome.
That took a lot of research. He boiled it down to about 5 minutes. That's the exact opposite of what lawyers usually do.
Well, we got a time frame here, but I think that's really for the decision we need to make, that should lay it out. And again, if you start going down, well, what's the policy and all that, it's, you know,
Right.
a bit more.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the fiscal year 26 budget ratification. And
Yeah, if they're, yeah. Yeah.
what is it?
Kevin, bring Kevin in.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes, it's the other business.
Okay. On pages 18 through
19 through 20.
21 is the budget, and I know we've discussed this in the March meeting to a certain extent, and if you haven't reviewed it, you'll take a few minutes to review it, and if anybody has any, the chair will entertain discussion. Or a motion, either way.
Did you have a question?
I did. You know, I had asked for our contractual obligations to National PBS because, you know, our future may change and we need to be on, you know, top of that. So I don't, is that included
It
in
is.
here?
It's in your binder, and it's,
Okay.
I think, in the last section that says member certification, which is the contract. So I don't know what tab. I have a different binder than yours.
Yeah, it's on.
Could our finance representative kind of
Yes.
help us with this?
I can help with that. That is the full contract with our obligation to be a PBS affiliate. That is the certification, and of course, that was done by Courtney in the past. We haven't done it for this year yet. And those are all the terms and conditions that go with that membership affiliation. And there's also obviously our dues that we pay to become. So once we pay that dues and sign this certificate and adhere to those terms and conditions, they will give us PBS programming to air at a local level. So yes, it is all in there. We confirmed that that is all the documentation with finance, with National PBS, and that includes all that we have that is a part of that. And Will, you have a copy of it now in your binder. So,
Yes, wonderful, thank you.
Does anything jump out at you about obligations that may surprise members of the commission, or things that we don't? I'm wholly ignorant of this.
Sure. So, and I also, in my role as education and producer director, I was not a part of this part, so I am reading it through now that I am in my role now. So I also am new to this, so I will read through it as well and ask if Will can too, and see. I do have some things that I'm going to talk about as far as this rescission package and things like that. So that's part of mine, which will kind of help explain our, being a PBS affiliate.
Is it an annual commitment?
It is an annual commitment, yes.
So,
The 2.3 million almost.
yes. So every year, the contract or the agreement is renewed,
Correct.
and what year did the brand change that AETN became Arkansas PBS?
2020,
I
is
think it
that
was
correct?
2020. It was right when I got here. It was around 2020, I believe.
And is that part of this? The
No.
ability to use that name, or is there an?
No,
Okay.
we chose just to rebrand, so we still are AETC. That's a DBA. Arkansas PBS is a DBA.
Yeah.
It
But-
is not our legal name for this agency.
But that is a national brand, and so are there obligations on this organization because we chose to use Arkansas PBS? Is
No.
there?
That was so a lot of stations just use, like other PBS stations, they're WIDA. They don't even, they're not necessarily like Idaho, it could be Idaho PBS, or their name may be just call letters. That is not a requirement, no.
No, I get that it's not a requirement. What I'm wondering is, are there obligations because that everything from the name to the logo is proprietary?
Sure.
So I can't imagine they would just allow one to use it without some sort of agreement of an obligation on this organization. That's
I
what.
couldn't imagine if we were no longer a PBS station that we could keep branding ourselves one. Like, is that the question?
No, it's what do we have to do in order to keep using that name?
I would
Or
have to.
did we have to?
I would have to ask the AG's office. That sounds.
I can-
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it,
Okay.
what the requirements are with that use of the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that does have all of it. We all looked through, we asked PBS and confirmed that those are all, everything that you have in your packet is a part of that member certification to be a PBS station and receive their programming and their other services. I'll just make a note just now, because Maria, it is in your binder, but you guys are going to receive a Google Doc with all the items. I'll explain it more. It's in my section, but you'll have a digital copy of this as well. So if, this gets misplaced, you're going to have a link that gives you the same information.
Is there any more discussion on the budget?
I have a question. This was about the financial report. I asked about this last time, and just wanted to understand what the status of the community service grant is at this time, whether we're still anticipating receiving that funding or not.
I can take that. So it was a part of my leadership, so I guess we're jumping to
Brian,
my
do you want to
leadership,
switch
to the
out of
leadership
this?
section. Okay, so
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
do you want me
and answer.
to, or do you
Yeah,
want
go ahead and answer.
Okay, okay, so as you guys know, and we didn't want to, of course, not talk about it, Tuesday, a rescission package went to Congress. It included defunding CPB. So CPB gives us what we call the CSG that Dr. Nance just said, the Community Service Grant. And so what's on the table for Congress to vote on is, will those CSG grants continue to stations? Those are given directly to the local stations all around the country. And so let's say that it does get voted to defund it. We will lose, at a local level, $2.5 million per year. That is what we will lose. And so you may wonder, what is that $2.5 million going towards? And it is a variety of things. One, maybe about half go to buying those PBS programs so we have enough shows to air. But the other half is operational. It runs studio operations, Dwayne's operations, some of our towers for the early warning system, and so on. So what what we understand is we have to know that that may go away, and we will have to adjust and figure out what that means to us and tell you guys this is what it means as far as the services we offer without having that. So, you know, Lindsay and Marge and I, we're talking about it. We don't want to go kind of in crisis mode, so we're just to let you know that we are discussing what are the options and stuff. So, but yes, 2.5 million is what we would lose as a local station annually if that is not here, and we will have to adjust. So like this AOP that you're seeing is based on still getting that money. If
Okay.
Well,
Question.
I think,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go right
No,
ahead.
I just spoke up. You raised your hand.
Oh, no. Please, go ahead.
You know, when you say let's not get in crisis mode, you know, I think that we really need to be thinking about what we're going to do when.
that's
You know,
what we're
we
doing.
have to plan for this. Subsidies just will not be there forever with a $36 trillion debt in our country, and we will be affected by it. I mean, it may not be this year, it may not be in my lifetime, Woody, but it's coming if something doesn't happen. So I say we be more proactive than just looking at where we are. You know, I think we've got to be thinking about how we're going to help ourselves keep these community engagement events and
and
programs going.
I apologize if I said it. That's exactly what I meant. I don't want to go into crisis mode. I want to get ahead of this, understand
Absolutely.
of those, because we'll know in 45 days. They have 45 days since, I guess, Tuesday to vote on this. So it's not that far away.
It isn't,
Yeah.
no.
So, you know, yes, we absolutely are. We're planners, and so we're going to plan and be able to deliver to you guys the implications of it and what we'd like to do going forward.
I've been picking their brains, and I've been really impressed at how forward-thinking they are. It's there's several steps ahead of us.
Right.
So,
And I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. Anytime in any business, you lose 22% of your funding. It's not an
Exactly.
easy, this isn't that simple. But yes, we knew the moment it came out. We know that what it pays for in this building and things like that, and we're working on it.
Are we contractual, is it by year that we're contractually obligated to pay National PBS the 2.4 million?
It's
For-
annual.
That's for
yes.
the end. And that's probably part of that agreement to know how much programming we have to buy.
It is not based on the number of hours of programming. It's based on a formula that they use with all stations. Like there's a formula, and I believe I put it in your packet, of how they come up with dues. So let me give you an example. We're considered a Division I PBS station, so we're a bigger station. We're statewide. In some states, there are little small ones everywhere. So they're not going to charge them the same dues as they do a bigger station. So there's a formula, financial formula based on, I guess, revenue. I'm sure I don't know the financial formula, how they come up with it. But there is one, and I believe, Gary, it's in your packet.
And
So it's different for every station.
would it be possible, for instance, because these numbers are so similar, I'm just thinking, when you're trying to plan for anything that might happen, is an option just, okay, no more national programming? I mean, we don't want that, but should that be something that's on the table as an option that we have to deal with?
I think that would be for you guys to share with us, and
Yeah.
in those options, I mean, we can work on what that looks like and deliver to you. Here's this option you'd like us to look at, and so on and so on. So I mean, Yes, I don't think that's my decision to make.
Oh, no, I
Yeah,
wasn't
so
suggesting that.
I guess if you want us to look into that, we can. It depends on what you guys want us to do, and we can do whatever you guys ask us to. I just don't.
So it's money from CPB to PBS for,
Not, okay,
it's not, it doesn't have to be used for that. I'm just saying,
correct, and we don't. So Marge gives us 1.2 million for the dues for PBS. So the CSG money from CPB comes directly to the state, and we decide we could use that whole 2.5 on just operational stuff. It's not.
No,
it's not
I
right.
understand that.
But that's going to go away regardless. So CPB and PBS are two different.
I
entities. Yeah.
100% understand that. What I'm asking is, may we continue as Arkansas PBS if we don't have national programming?
As the name or just period?
No,
I mean,
just
we're a state agency first and foremost. I mean, like, I think that would be just you guys will look. I
And
don't.
please understand,
Yeah.
I'm to the folks that are listening, to the commission, to the staff, I'm not suggesting we do that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to know every option if $2.5 million goes away.
Correct.
What-
And I'll
what's the
say,
least
Gary, I
harmful?
think, so when I look at that, so I say 2.5 million is going to go away. I know 1.2 million is just to operate our local stuff. It's nothing to do with PBS. Just to operate and do shows and produce things and have the early warning system, the local level will be losing about 1.2 million that we don't, at this point, don't have a plan for. And so it's not just about how we'll lose programming. It's really about running this station on a local level. And I'm looking at that 1.2 and saying we've got to look at that and understand the implications of that just to run the station that we were given from CSG money. So I think that's first on my mind more than, because that, yeah, it could shut down certain operations in this building.
It's, I mean, as we all know, our world's fast changing. It's going to change for national PBS. It's going to change for us also. Can we, when we buy the national program, can we pick the shows we want to show? And, or is it like just, they send us the whole package?
Or do you
I'm
want
sorry,
to?
what was the question?
It was, can we, as an agency, pick the shows that we air? Do you guys have that?
Except for roughly 30%. We do pick the shows.
Okay, what's the 30%?
20% is a requirement of common carriage for children's shows every weekday.
Okay,
20% of the schedule, and approximately 6% of every week is considered common carriage of general audience.
So common carriage, if it's an unfamiliar term, it is, we don't get to select those. They said that's a requirement, general audience, 30% of it. Is that correct, Lindsay? That they say we must run as a PBS station?
Yes,
and those are children-oriented educational programs.
right.
Okay,
Yeah, roughly 7 hours every day of our weekday schedule is children's content.
okay. Any other questions or discussion? No? Well,
I had a question related to the previous question about PBS affiliation, and that is, we've talked about the programming requirement and what the other requirements are as well, because I think the question was asked, what would happen as a theoretical or a hypothetical were we to essentially disaffiliate? And I just want to be clear about what it is that we're required to do to keep that PBS brand, or what, so in addition to the children's programming, what else is involved? I think a couple meetings ago, we had a conversation about getting up to speed on that, and I guess I just want to raise that again.
Is she asking common carriage?
Yeah, so Dr. Nance, let me know if we're not, so 70% of it is our choice of what we can air on our network, on broadcast, and then 30% to be a PBS station is required of us to continue to be a PBS station. So about 30% we do not select.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the programming component, but is there anything else in addition to programming?
We would have to go through all of
Yeah,
those
I'm not
policies
sure.
and just,
Yeah, I'm not sure if
highlight
there's
any-
any other requirements
Yeah.
that we have to,
I mean, to
other than-
receive the community service grant, we have more requirements. I don't know that that falls on the PBS side, but we'd have to go through all of those policies and,
Right, so for that
Sure.
CSG money, which is the one that's going to Congress, there are lots of requirements, but that's not associated with PBS programming. That's
Right.
Yeah, and there are a lot. Like, it has to be for the community, or it has to be focused on, operational stuff for the early warning system and things like that. But as far as PBS I think it's only programming, but we will check for sure, because I'm not.
I think
Yeah.
that's what Commissioner Newton was also asking, like, what is it, what all is required?
Yeah.
And it was, I appreciate her for raising this. We talked about in the last meeting the documentation of the motion which delegated the exercise of program content control to the executive director. We were told that that was a requirement. And so we just want to be fully informed of what's been delegated, what's our responsibility in order to meet those.
Right,
those
so
goals.
I'll go ahead, it's a slide for later on, but I'll go ahead and tell you, we have gone through, I'd like to say thanks to Katie Kramer and everyone else that went through. In this link that you'll get, it has every bylaw that we could find, all the information you need. There is some language in there about that. I don't want to analyze what it says because I don't necessarily know it in those terms, what it means. But you all will be getting a copy, and it's hundreds and hundreds of pages. And Will get a copy of a Google Drive with all of the motions that we have found since, I think, 1968 until now, and all of those details. So, Gary, yes, I saw something in there. I don't want to analyze what it means. I don't know, but
Okay,
the AG will get a copy of it as well.
thank you.
I will say, I told you these people are several steps in front of us, and we have a letter in the governor's office right now asking for an audience with her and her senior staff to discuss and brainstorm what the future of PBS is.
well, good.
And so we're just waiting for a time. And, we'll keep the commission fully informed. And we just felt like Sajni and staff has some ideas, but we felt like we needed to run it by the governor first.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a point I'd like to make on the discussion that we've had so far. To your point, Gary, if we're not a PBS station, we're not carrying PBS programs, we're still an FCC entity and have a non-commercial license. And some of the same regulations are dovetailed into that license. We have to have so much children's programming. We have to have so much public affairs programming. I mean, there's things that we have to have regardless of whether we're a PBS station. And that has to come from somewhere. So as we're making decisions about are we going to be a PBS station or not, just know that those parts and pieces are there because of an SEC requirement. Is that fair?
Yes. I think we're going to, of course, this news isn't, we just got this news. We're going to have to look into all of the things as you guys were mentioning. It's very new news for us. And so I don't, like you said, I'm sure you know, because you've dealt with the FCC, like what are those things too? And then we could bring it to you. Say, here's what it all looks like.
Okay.
Brian, if you'll take my screen, I think we're going into regular meeting.
I think Lindsay has some,
I'm just going to flip over to our
Okay.
regular meeting if we're ready to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to take, oh wait, you're still on the.
Yeah, hang on a second. But with no more questions, we'll entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 26 budget ratification.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Woody seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say nay. Okay, that passes. Next, we've been in contact with National PBS about an executive search. They've given us some suggestions of search firms that they've used in the past. We're thinking that that may be too expensive for us right now, especially with the future, to hire a search firm. But there are several national boards and publications that we can advertise in and get national applications. And so we're not exactly sure how we're going to handle it right now, but we're still researching, I guess is what I want to say.
Could you share a ballpark on the cost?
I don't have I don't have that yet. I've requested, I don't have it yet, so.
So we don't know the cost.
No,
It just may,
no.
we think it might be.
Yeah, we think it might be, so. Okay,
Brian, we're not seeing my screen.
okay,
There we go.
gotcha. We've got a matter we're going to do out of order, and I'll hand it over to Sajni.
Okay, so I know you're about to go into executive session, but it is important, and we are sad to share with you guys, but we are very sad, and we don't know what to do. Kevin Lewis is retiring after 40 years at this station.
Wow.
Here's Kevin Lewis over here. He is the director of IT. So as you guys can imagine, a broadcast station, digital station, running LMSs and things like that, what a vital role he plays here. And so we'd all like to give our quotes about it, but I just picked one from one of the employees, and I thought I'd share that. And you'll be terribly missed, Kevin, by everybody here. So he said, this employee, institutional knowledge, Kevin Lewis has that. By the truckloads, he has it. And it does make sense that Kevin would have a pretty good knowledge of how things run in this building because he planned and or built most of the IT infrastructure since he came here in the late 80s. That recall and knowledge of our systems will be missed for sure. But what I will miss is his quiet leadership, the quiet leadership Kevin demonstrates in running the IT department here at Arkansas PBS. You see, networks and the equipment that make them work are one of the things you just don't know about, but they're running. When things go sideways, you need someone who can keep a clear head and come up with solutions. Kevin is that person. Mostly, though, I will miss the person who is my boss. And to put it simply, Kevin is a good dude. The kind of person you enjoy working for. So, Kevin, you will be missed. Thank you for all your service this past 40 years. And we'll have cake on your last day, which is in a few weeks. So, you want to say a couple of things?
I wasn't expecting this today.
Yeah, we surprised you.
I've enjoyed working for AE10 or Arkansas PBS for this whole time. When I started here, in 1987, I took this, I took this position and thought it would be a good learning experience for a couple of years, and here I am, all these years later. And I still enjoy the job, but I feel like it's a good time for me to step aside. My wife has some other plans for me. We want to do some traveling and stuff and not have all the responsibilities that we have here. But the changes since I've walked in here have been enormous. When I started here, we had 3 computers and a printer. So it's changed quite a bit.
Well, we salute you. Thank you.
And I enjoyed working with everybody here for the last 40 years. It's been it's really truly been a family. There's been a lot of people come and go, but everybody that's worked here has been great to work with.
Well,
Thank
what
you.
an accomplishment.
Thank you.
I didn't even know we had IT 40 years ago.
Well, I was initially hired to do design and build a database to automate the production of a yearly catalog, and that's where we started. And so I wrote some software to automate the typesetting of catalogs. So that's where I started, and it just kind of evolved from there. So I don't think I was named. There wasn't an IT division at that time, but by the early '90s, as we built networks around here, it became more apparent that we needed IT guidance. So by 1995, we were on the internet. The internet came along. So
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your commitment.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And your service.
thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go into executive session to discuss our new interim executive director's salary. Unless somebody has an objection. If there are no objections, if the staff would step out and we'll holler at you when we get through. Welcome back. We've been in a special executive committee meeting to discuss our new interim director's salary, and we have come from a conclusion. I'll entertain a motion from one of the commissioners.
I would move we accept the state of Arkansas's minimum for executive directors as of July the 1st.
Second.
It's been
But
seconded.
to clarify, can I ask a question before we go?
Certainly.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be her starting salary, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Just want to make sure we were clear.
And it is our understanding that that's $155,000. Is that correct, Sergeant?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. And the motion passes. Sergeant, I'm handing it over to you.
Okay, so I think this starts the leadership, all of us report. First, I wanted to share my thanks for your confidence in me. I will work tirelessly. I love the work that we do for the state and the children in this state and the people in this state. I profoundly believe in what we do to help others, and I will work every day to do what we need, including what we need to do moving ahead. I will get ahead of it. I will help. I will understand every item that I need to and should. And I'm always open for anything you need to talk to me about within the rules of FOIA. So, yes, thank you so much. So our key accomplishments, we've been really busy kind of working on the financials and stuff, so we didn't have a video this time, but since you've been here in March, we have done Arkansas PBS sports, so softball and baseball. We had a wonderful season of that. It was a lot of fun. I believe, I'm not really good at sports, but I believe there was a game, it was 6A?
It's 4A.
4A.
Baseball, Harding Academy.
Record number of innings.
I stayed up and watched the entire thing. It was amazing.
Yes, I mean,
It was
and what was
amazing.
funny in my house, everyone had it on their TV in another room. Like, everyone realized this is historic. My husband and my son, and like, we were all watching in different rooms. But that was a wonderful season of baseball and softball. We also had the Governor's Quiz Bowl in April, and boy, those kids are smart. And they had a wonderful competition, and that was, of course, a lot of fun to have so many students here at the station every year.
If I can interject a comment, there was a comment on my Facebook that said, you guys have missed this Arkansas PBS broadcast of these games. I'm telling you, these people are better than SEC announcers.
They are, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, go ahead.
For sure. And then we also taped this third season of third?
Second.
Is that
Of
second?
Treasure.
It feels like
Treasure,
third already.
yeah.
The second season of Arkansas Treasures. So that was very popular. And we had, I don't even remember
I
how
put it
many,
in my slide.
you
Yeah.
have it in your slide, good. We had hundreds of people here. And so, yeah, that's it. And then Lindsay's going to talk about some of the community efforts that we've done.
Yep. So in March, and I know a couple of our commissioners were able to make it to this meeting, or this event, so thank you for joining us. It was, to date, our largest screening event. We had over 800 people. We don't know the exact number. We had a couple of partners that were working with us, and they were handling some of their entry as well. So, but together, we know that we've exceeded 800. We believe it may be closer to 1,000. We packed the lower level of Robinson, which was just lovely. It was a lovely event, a great panel. Everyone got to see a preview of our latest documentary, Unveiled, Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash, and great media around it. The Arkansas Democrat-Gazette headline said Premier Packs House, had some great photos and a great write-up. Former Governor Asa Hutchinson had commented that he had it was a special time. Thank you for PBS for making it happen. So it was just a really nice event all the way around. We also, in the community, started at around April. This is our spring and summer series of Read to Succeed events. So we will have we have 9 of those in the queue, and there may be more that are added, but we're all over the state reading with children, and that's always a great time. You might recognize the back of someone in that in that photo who's actually boots on the ground reading with us, reading with children. Commissioner Cowie was a member of our, was it the Clarksville event? Yeah. So, but those are always the families get a meal, they get, it's a free event for them, they get some take-home reading materials, so it's just a really great way for us to be in the community. And then lastly, of just community engagement over the last 3 months, as Sajni mentioned, we did a taping event for season 2. We welcomed 380 guests right here in our headquarters, so they get to see our building, see this operation, get to interact with the staff. We had 470 items that were evaluated. The best of those, the most interesting of those, obviously will make it into the show this fall. So season 2 episodes will begin this fall, and we can't wait for y'all to see Craig O'Neill as the host. He was, we believe everybody's going to love his humor and his antics there. There was a prank that we might have to use as, kind of a special segment. So he had gotten some of the staff with a pretty good prank. In terms of audience growth, I won't belabor this much. I will call out that first one, the PBS streams. I mean, as you can see, that yellow line, which represents this fiscal year, in May, we've had the highest streams that we've ever had, but just the total of that from July to May, we have actually doubled our streaming viewers month over month. So I believe when we started that yellow dot in July, was around 89,000 streamers in a month. In May, it was close to 200,000. So we obviously have done our job to get in front of people to get them streaming PBS programming. So I was very happy to see that. Everything else had good growth. Again, we're just year over year, month over month, continuing to exceed even our own expectations and really draw our audience in. X was the only one. We lost 5 followers. It's kind of the one that, again, goes back and forth from month to month, so nothing alarming there, but it didn't have growth in May. And then March, you want to do membership?
Yes, indeed. Good to see you all. We are still 25 days away from the end of the fiscal year, and we count every single one of those in fundraising, so we're not prepared to give you any end-of-year numbers yet. But I did want to give you just a little snapshot of some membership figures that speak to overall health and long-term stability of our donor base. As of the end of May, we were sitting, for membership revenue, we were sitting 2.9% ahead of previous fiscal year to date. That may sound modest, but I will tell you that right now across the country for all manner of nonprofits, including public media, these are very good numbers to have. Our total individual donors at this point, in the course of this fiscal year to date, we have had almost 26,000 donors, which is just an extraordinary base to be able to say that we've got that broad spectrum of support. A couple of particular data points. Sustainers, as you know, are our monthly donors. That's a particularly important figure for us because that's revenue that we know that we can count on from month to month. We get benchmarking data from a vendor who puts us in a cohort of about 115 other PBS stations around the country. The average nationally among that cohort for monthly sustainers is 51.9% of the donor base. For us, it is 63.9% of our donor base are monthly givers. So we're about 12 percentage points ahead of that national average. That's a great figure for us. And one of the reasons that's a great figure is that once someone becomes becomes a monthly donor, they are much more likely to be retained. And retention is another really important indicator of our overall health. Our donor retention at all levels of giving and for sustainers and one-time givers is 80.2%. That's against that national benchmark of 74.4%. I will tell you that donor retention in public media is quite high compared to nonprofits nationally. Nonprofits nationally, that retention rate for more than a decade now has been less than 50%. So to have numbers like this, it puts us in a very good, healthy position. The other piece I wanted to mention is that we look at donor tenure. So out of our currently 25,000 plus active donors, more than half of those have been giving to us for 5 years or more. And again, once you can hang on to a donor for more than 5 years, you're much more likely to keep them. They're much more likely to be in for the long haul. And as you can see here, we actually have donors who have been giving to us for 15, 20, 30, 40 years and more consistently. That's a really extraordinary commitment and speaks to the level of ownership that people in this state have over Arkansas PBS. So all of those, despite the uncertainties that we've been talking about earlier in the meeting, this is all very good news and a real position of strength for us to operate from. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Cindy.
Yes.
Let me see if I can turn on my camera after I avoided a fire, apparently, or something going on here in the hotel. My question is, a while back, we had some data about who listens to PBS or who are the folks who contribute, and there was an age demographic, that kind of thing. My question is related to that. If we know that, for example, we're going to consider going forward, maybe making some changes, or as might have been suggested, that we not have certain programs or whatnot, how that would impact the donor base. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Because my sense is that a lot of the people who are donors really tune in to like All Things Great and Small and all these other national programs. And so as a wise board going forward, if we're going to make any changes in terms of that, it'd probably be good to know where that stands.
Thank you for that question, Dean Nance. And we will put together some specific data around that for you. I will tell you that when someone gives online, there is a field that people can fill out saying why I gave today. Right. And and anecdotally, at least, I can tell you that the vast majority either just mention the programming overall, or some of them believing in the mission, but many speaking to the programming, and yes, a large number of them do reference specific shows, especially All Creatures Great and Small, Finding Your Roots, the Ken Burns documentaries, but we will happily put together some specific data. But yes, certainly I do think that it is that PBS content that I think it's fair to say that the lion's share of our donors do connect with, and that's a real driver for their contributions.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
This is you, underway key
Okay.
efforts.
All right, so in the last commissioners' meeting in March, there were several motions, so we're going to address those motions since many of them were to have a progress report this time. So the first one, and we kind of made these slides to make it easier, the motion, and this is paraphrased, so understand that, like this is not transcribed. So it said, make professional development available to all Arkansas educators. So in the last meeting, we had a lot of discussion on, are there things available for homeschool parents, parents just things that are available that are not locked down. And so my amazing team in marketing helped as well. We realized you're right. We knew we had it. I didn't know what the number count was, and clearly we needed a better way to let them know that we have it. So we are working very closely with marketing to have a website page or portal to put all of these things. We're going to organize it by grade, subject, learning standard, and audience. And as you can see here, and it's in your binder, every single one of these numbers are actually in your binder, the full list breakdown. We put in your binders 862 videos, 632 printables, and 134 teacher discussion resources. And I think one of you had asked, how many of those are for high school, and of that grand total, it's 155. So it will take us a little time to get this up, but we do have all these things, and we did need to have a better place to offer this. So we will continue to put more, but you can kind of see the breakdown in your binders of what's already live, what's coming out in the next school year, and we will, of course, tell you like the easy kind of dashboard way that we will make these available. A lot of these are out there, but we clearly needed a better way of getting it out there because we don't.
Where is it in the binder?
Yeah, so Jamie's, did it get in the binders?
Folder, actually.
Is it a folder? Hold on, let me see if it's this. No. Yeah, it's the very last, see all those spreadsheet? It starts
Yes.
on.
At the back.
Oh, I see.
Behind learning resources.
Yes. So we really broke it down. So then, let's say a parent wants to go in and says, I need some learning resources for my kid who's in first grade on math. So now you're going to be able to go in there,
Absolutely.
pick what it is, get those things. And yeah, so we're excited we have this many already. And I'm sure we'll continue to do that. So
And in this,
Yes.
on this website, do you have a way to receive feedback from
We can-
people who use?
sure, we can do that. So we're building a new one.
Yes.
We realized we didn't have one, and we're going to build that.
Exactly. Also,
Yes.
yesterday,
Uh-huh.
I had an opportunity to talk to Stacy Smith, Ashley Harris, and Tiffany, I can't think of her last name.
Pride.
At the thank you, at the Department of Education, and they are willing to work on a solution to get homeschool leadership into our professional development.
Great.
We'll work with you. Those three ladies already
Yes.
know that what you're doing, of course. And
Great.
in order to get homeschoolers that are interested
Yes.
on board with that
Absolutely.
professional
Great. So-
development, those are really
Yes. Dr. Pride, that's the group that, so there's lots of divisions of
Yes.
of ADE, but that is the people who are part of IDEA. So yeah.
exactly.
That's great. There are things that we talk about if that were to happen, like it opens up. This is why it's sad that Kevin's gone. We do have infrastructure things we'll have to also deal with servers. Like right now, the server can handle the amount we have. So whenever we're ready to start calculating those numbers, we'll have to do a lot of figuring out. It doesn't just, it's because they're courses, but that's wonderful. So I just thought that you'd be excited to see this.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you guys brought it up because it gave us the opportunity to organize them and deliver them. As you guys probably know, and I'm the education director, I have the best team in the world. They are licensed teachers, so this is very high quality content. And it's really good quality stuff for people.
I know you answered the question for
Yes.
me, but I might be stealing your thunder. Like, we've got stuff available for homeschoolers, do we not?
This is it, yeah.
Oh, this is
all
it.
of-
This is the
Yes,
homeschool, okay.
yes. All of these will be, now, we've got to get it all on the
Yeah,
website.
the resources are already there. The database is what Sajdi's education team put together, which it was Yeoman's work to get that together because there are so many resources and they wanted to tag it in ways that would make it easy to use. Now our team, as those who will build the website, we've got to then convert that database into a website. So I told her this will be one of our largest, longest projects. It's not something that we will show the website in September, but we will work diligently because we want this resource to be something that everybody can use. They don't have to be they don't have to be a teacher in a classroom to know how to read and interpret and find these resources. It will be user-friendly for a homeschool educator or a microschool educator or anybody who wants to use this website.
Good. This is what we're about, isn't
Yeah.
it? Very good.
Question?
Yes.
Is this content, it was not behind a firewall?
It wasn't, but it was not organized in a way that you could access it easily.
It was by program, so it wasn't by, I'm looking for first grade math courses. It was, here's our Rise and Shine program, here's our Mystery League program, it was done by program level and not searchable in the way that we're looking to do
And
now.
we weren't able to just promote it as here are the resources because they were part of an umbrella of a different, like Mystery League.
Got
So
it.
they were there, but maybe someone doesn't know about Mystery League.
Right.
And then weren't able to
Have no
easily
idea
find
what
it
to
on
talk
our
about.
website.
That gets me.
Well, I very much appreciate the creation of accessibility
Yes.
for it. That's not all you have. There's still that licensed teacher login.
Right. So what I would
Let me
say, yeah,
finish,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Have you met with the department about opening that up as the motion called for, and to get the costs associated with that the department might be willing to pick up? Because the motion was to make all of professional development available to all educators.
Right.
And so I appreciate this step. I don't take anything away from that.
So, can I?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're right. So ideas, when we do an ideas program, it is put under an umbrella based on, is this because you have a license, a professional license, or is this available like these? It's not a requirement for your license. And that's how they're broken up. So to get CE hours because you're a licensed teacher, you have to take, just like lawyers do, you have to take continuing education every year, right? PE. For a license, you have to do that annually for most doctors, lawyers, CPAs, things like that. So what I'm going to need to find out is if they took some of these courses, because we just made it open, we're actually teaching them something incorrect as the state of Arkansas that doesn't apply to them. And that's really why we're taking care. So if I say you're mandated to be a mandated child abuse reporter, that doesn't apply to anyone but licensed teachers or being in the school. So it's also about giving a course saying this is the rule for you and it's not a rule. We have to look at it more from that, because then what are the implications of us? They can say, well, you told us this was a rule when it really wasn't. So it's more about content. Does that?
I understand that.
Yeah,
And
so-
I understand that there are hurdles. My encouragement is to meet with the department, raise with them what was brought up in our meeting, and see what they think about opening up what they have paid for to as many Arkansans as possible. And I think they will be able to give guidance on things that I've heard it said about the I don't know what you call it, the firewall, whatever it is, the platform. It has a cost associated with each user, that sort of thing. So all I want is a collaboration with the department to make as much available that's appropriate for everybody as possible, and don't limit it. So this is a great first step.
Right.
But there's a huge
Right.
amount of content out there.
Yes. Okay, so I think, from my understanding, and I've only been, Ideas has been around for 20 years, but for the last 6 years, we determine who are the applicable audience from the start before we create the course. So that is determined at the beginning. Is can this be public, or does this need to be locked in because it's part of a license requirement of teaching? So it is determined prior to making the course who the audience is. So I think that is already I don't think it's done on the back end. Since I've been here, it's like, who is the audience? We know it before we even create it.
We have never, as my understanding, have never looked at the whole of education like we are now in Arkansas. We have looked at it as school districts, and then in charter schools. There are other educators in the state that could benefit. All I'm asking is that we exhaust with the department and let them know. And I think you will find people very eager over there to open it up and for their help in going through all of this. I don't think it should fall on us.
So, yes, and I do have an answer to that. I'm sorry, I didn't complete mine. So, yes, I understood that was the question. And so I reviewed our contract. It is a vendor-contractor agreement. It doesn't appear to me that it is permissible for me to ask what I suggest on it. I gave Will the contract just last week to look at it to make sure we are in compliance of that grant agreement. Because right now, from reviewing it, and just from my historical, I've never done that, and it was because it's in the grant that you comply to the goals and objectives that we put in this grant, and it's a legal document. So I've given it to Will, so I don't do anything to against what we agreed upon with them. So he has it now. Like I said, I've only done this for a week, but I gave it to Will because he'll understand it in a real way. But it says, you must comply. We sign it, that you will adhere to the goals and objectives as we direct. And I don't have that authority to give my suggestions. And so I just want, just as a first step, because it is 22% of our budget here, it's a big funding source for our station, that I do it right and know if this language really doesn't give me that authority, since they govern education and they know the LEARNS Act better than we do. I just want to do it right. So I have taken the first step, which was giving Will our contract agreement with ADE for ideas.
All right. I thank you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, I would like to invite Secretary Oliva to our next scheduled meeting.
Okay.
And to discuss how this commission can support the Department of Education and collaborate to meet both of our common missions.
Okay. Get out of here.
Do you need that in a motion, or you?
I don't think we need a motion, do we? I don't think.
And if it helps, I will be happy to reach out to him if you think it appropriate or not.
Why don't we do a motion, just say that our commission asked us to.
There you go.
She can say that.
Okay.
For you to come to the meeting.
All right.
So he didn't think we're putting him on in the bright lights and tall chair and all that.
I move that we invite Secretary Oliva to the next scheduled meeting of the AETN Commission to discuss how our commission may collaborate with the Department of Education.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. It passes.
Any other questions on that motion? We'll move on to the next one. Okay, so the motion paraphrase was Research Science of Reading Broadcast Series. So we have dug in to this topic and also the rules that govern science of reading per ADE and the LEARNS Act. So, in response to this, we will revive Blueberry's Clubhouse for pre-K students, including new episodes that support learning to read, that are aligned with the science of reading. There are 5 components of the science of reading. The only ones that we can provide supplemental per the ADE rules is phonics and vocabulary. So the other 3 are required face-to-face. They can't be done by video, so we would not be able to do that and do it that way. So, to give you an example is science of reading. Basically, it's you have to understand where the kid is at, and that comes from an assessment from a teacher. You have to see where you have to be able to look at someone and know, and then what you do is you adapt the instruction based on what they need. That can't be because video is just one-sided. You wouldn't be doing that step, and those 3 other components require that. So we are very excited to revive Blueberry's Clubhouse. The good thing is we have the sets. We've wanted to do it, so the expense, we don't have the money right now. We don't have it in our budget. So we're going to ask Marge if she can reach out and see if she can find some. But at least I know that it was a popular show, and I also know that we have some of the expenses already paid because we have the sets and stuff, right? Like, there are things that are already that wouldn't be new expenses. So it actually becomes something that's easier to make. Kids, pre-K is where this all starts, actually infancy with reading. I mean, we think a puppet show is a really good start. But again, this doesn't cover everyone. If there are kids in secondary grades, that's going to have to look something different if we did supplemental materials, because they don't want to watch a puppet show. It really is adaptive to the learner and their level, and and some of them we just can't do. So that is what we're planning to do. We're excited about that. We love phonics and vocabulary. We've done a little bit of that during Rise and Shine. So, yeah. Any questions on that?
I'm going to do a quick time check. We're almost at noon.
Okay, we can rush through the rest.
Is that something also that you don't feel comfortable talking to the Department of Education about? Is that something we should bring up?
No, I mean, it is actually, we looked at the rules on their websites. You just can't do the other 3 components.
Oh, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Is it something that you feel restricted?
No.
That's not part of a grant. This is
No,
part of...
it's just us as educators understanding what we can do by video to support science of reading. And the other ones, we would say it was it, but it actually wouldn't be. So it would not be science.
And to your knowledge, were there any national programs in that regard?
I don't, on phonics, on the components that we could do, we think Super Y does. That's a PBS program that we air. We think Super Y, was there another one?
There's a new one coming later this year called Phoebe and Jay. That's
Phoebe and Jay.
Early literacy.
And will be broadcasting that, or do we know?
It would be
we
required.
Broadcast
It will
preschool.
be.
PBS
Terrific.
programming.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next one, we'll go quickly because we're running out of time. So I already mentioned this, so I won't go into it. You guys will all get a link with every bylaw and every supporting document that was not an opinion, but it looks to us as though it was an actual motion or something legal, like the Supreme Court cases in there. You got everything now, at least everything that we could find here. So that's that.
All right, this one is me. So paraphrase, the motion was to develop a guide for outside content creator collaboration. So we have completed the research. We looked at about 5 of our peer PBS stations of how they're handling this and got some good ideas, kind of pulled out the best ideas from each of those. So we have that draft of an independent producer submission form that again will be converted to a web page. We just have to make the web page happen. So that will be completed by our next meeting. So. And then discussion items, so there are several, and I'll go ahead and just lead into this. There were several motions made that we want to discuss because progress has not been made in terms of putting this into our queue of items we're working on. So Explore High Wage Career Opportunities broadcast series was the paraphrase of the question. So we have done some research, but from our understanding, another state agency is already in development on a similar effort. We learned that because Arkansas PBS was asked to participate about a dozen of our agency's roles for these videos, and then looking into it, we were able to uncover what the bigger project is. So from our next step, we would like to collaborate with them if it's permissible by the state and the contractor that they're working with, that we help to distribute those videos. So that could be in our broadcast, it could be helping in an online matter, but if the effort is already underway to go across the state and get videos from all career fields, it makes sense for us to collaborate with another state agency to make that happen. So that's something we would need to talk to them and talk to the contractor and see if that is something we can do.
Can you say who it is?
Do you want me to say who it is?
Who the contractor
Yeah, I say
is?
I know who it is, but I don't know if I'm.
Or the
Yeah.
department, or what state
it's
agency?
public record. It's
Yeah.
Edge Factor. I
Yeah,
think
Edge
that's-
Factor is the contractor.
But that's all we know. We have not talked to Mike Rogers or anyone about it.
Yeah.
We just happen to know the name of and they've asked us to be some of the interviewees in the videos for what we do, like an editor. They want to shoot us to show what it looks like to be an editor or a producer or writer. So we're actually a participant in this, and that's how we know about it.
Okay. So they're talking about different professions, they're not talking about specific industries.
I don't know the scope of it,
Okay.
but that's the part of it that we know, yeah.
And it's through the Department of Commerce? You said Mike Rogers?
Mike Rogers
and
is.
I'll say, I'm
yeah.
assuming it is,
Yeah,
yes.
say Mike Rogers is part of it, is what we know, but I don't know that it's necessarily generated. I don't know, maybe from the Department of Commerce.
Is Mike Rogers Department of Commerce? Yeah.
He's the governor's czar for all things workforce. I may have misstated what that is.
Is
I know
that
he's
under
the interim director at the Northwest Arkansas Technical Institute right now. I've talked with him about this very thing, so I'm curious as to if it's, I don't think what I've heard here syncs up with what this is. So I'll do a little more digging as well. Thank you.
And the next one, I wish I had better news to report on. This was actually not a motion, it was a question from our chair last time of can we do a re-review of that Nielsen agreement, the free offering that Nielsen and CPB had arranged. And the short answer is no. There is some language in there because Arkansas PBS would not be directly contracting with Nielsen and paying for that service. That Nielsen's language in the agreement is that we would not be able to make that data publicly available, which is a violation of our state's FOIA law. So we are not able to enter into that agreement. That is the outcome of the re-review of that Nielsen agreement. So I know that that is not what everybody wanted to hear. It would be great for us to be able to have access into what is provided as a free resource, but that is a no-go. All right, and then this again was not a motion, but rather a question from one of our commissioners last time about, it was a tag-on of the Nielsen conversation, can cable companies provide Arkansas PBS with viewership data for our own extrapolation? If anyone has a contact, I would be glad to take that and start working that. Everything that I could find from all major cable companies is behind a customer login. So no phone numbers are posted. Chat bots require a customer login. Every attempt to make contact with a major cable company to see if we can make that happen requires a customer login. So if anyone has a direct contact, please send it our way and we'll continue to investigate. Perfect. And then Dwayne is new to the agenda, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so as we were getting ready to work on this meeting and decide what content we wanted to put in front of you all. As you can tell, we've kind of redone our slide deck and everything. There's been considerable amount of thought put into this. This group decided that it was time for me to get in front of you and talk about things, facilities and operations. It had been a while since we had done that, but if we're doing real conversations around budget and expenses and looking for additional funding, you can't have a clear understanding if you're not talking about the facilities and operations side. There's an extreme amount of expense that is involved with that. So with that, I want to talk about a couple of projects. We had an event that happened in February where some of the pipes leading to our building from infrastructure from UCA here on the campus busted right before a freezing event. They were able to lay some pipe temporary across the parking lot to get us back operational, and we are in the process of paying some of the bills for that particular temporary fix, but also looking at the long-term solution to that, fixing the pipes permanently. It's going to cost quite a bit to do that, and UCA is willing to pay a large sum of that because it's tied back into their infrastructure. Having all these conversations with them, UCA was able to understand that we've had a cooperative agreement in place for a number of years, since 2001. They've had a number of employees over at their physical plant that had retired, and new people are in place, and the new people didn't realize that there was a cooperative agreement. The cooperative agreement speaks to a 27.2% cost share for Arkansas PBS for any of the equipment and expenses tied back to their infrastructure, obviously meaning that they'll pay for 70-something% on their side. So our cost for the water pipe repair replacement is $144,367. Far cheaper than the part that UCA is having to pay for, but that is still a staggering number. Another project that we have been working on for a number of years, the roof replacement project. We have been outside of our warranty agreement for 3 years now. It ended in 2022. We have been searching for funding to replace our roof. We did estimates and had some contractors come do initial assessments, and all the pricing for that is in the $750,000 range. It requires pulling back some of the substrate that's there, doing some metal work underneath the overlayment, and then coming back with this new, most flat roof buildings are going to this new PTO type product. It's very similar to what you would see in a swimming pool, and it just kind of shrink wraps back down to the surface. All of the people that we've talked to doing roofing are suggesting that type of work for our roof, and $750,000 is the range that we're talking about. If we move forward with any funding opportunities, we would obviously have to bid that out. Arkansas Building Authority would have to get involved, design professionals, all of that stuff has to happen. So those numbers are a little fluid, but I just thought it was important for you all to understand that that is there. We do have leaks in the building. We have lots of equipment in this building that the roof is covering. All of those things can happen, so we need to get back under some kind of warranty on our roof and get back to a measurable contingency. And then also talking with UCA, we know that there's going to be more projects in the future. And now that we are all sitting at the table talking about our cooperative agreement, and if they have plans for things, they know they have maintenance that they have to deal with. Is there anything on the horizon that they're looking at? And they said, yes, the main water chiller out back that provides cold water for our air conditioning systems will have to be replaced probably within the next 3 years. As a $2.5 million project in their estimates at this point, they said that particular replacement wouldn't be at the 27.2% cost share for us because that particular device does more than the square footage that was used to come up with that 27.2%. When we made that cooperative agreement in 2001, it was in conjunction with trying to redo several of these buildings down to the Reynolds Performance Hall. the water chiller is going to serve more than just this row of buildings. So that square footage analysis is going to be different. So it's probably going to be in the 10% range instead of the 27.2. So that's why you see that $250,000 price tag. But I just wanted to get those handful of items in front of you. It's not everything that's going on, but it's a pretty quick
So-
snapshot.
And to go on what Dwayne's saying, just to kind of give you from your question, Maria, so Dwayne's group is paid almost 100% by that CSG money. That may go away in the next 45 days. These items are not a part of that. That's just a part of normal operations. But we also have these that come up. So I'm just trying to say, you know, you can add it up. And so those are the things we really need to consider is what are the normal operations? We have to keep in mind these things that could come up. And if, we'll have to figure that all out, especially if that CSG money's gone, that $500,000 that now and has for as long as how many years, I don't know, decades, is gone. So it's that plus this. So we're just trying to be transparent of what this looks like and the way we'll be looking at it going ahead. Because when the water chiller, we have a contract, we have to fix it and give our percentage to UCA. That's the thing. But right now, we don't have that $250,000 cash, and we don't have it budgeted. We don't have a place. So those are the things we kind of maneuver through as they come up with just funding.
With that, I think we'll move to comments overall. Those were the reports on our end.
Anybody have any comments? Well, if not, we.
Wait, one quick
Go ahead.
thing. It was mentioned at the last meeting that you were working on a metric for evaluating our programming. Is that something that's still in the works?
No, I think that was conflated with the independent producer submission form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The chair will entertain a motion to accept the reports as reported.
So
move. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Okay, next we have National Showcase. We gonna do
Yes, that's Veronica.
Yeah, so we're just going to end with a quick sizzle of a fun look at some of our tentpole programming coming from National PBS for this summer.
This is the moment that you've been waiting for.
On your marks, get set, go!
Discover extraordinary lost worlds.
I know scientists that would give their right arm for this.
This is heaven. Hope y'all ready.
With no further comments from commissioners, are there?
Question I have.
Yeah.
Do we need to increase the frequency of our meetings during the search period? That's
a good question. I think, yeah.
Should we just do it as special meetings or maybe?
I'm gonna say yes. Maybe we do it by Zoom, if we need to.
Seems like
that's a good suggestion. Let's look at it.
It always helps with specials. It's hard to manage specials.
Right.
If we know maybe that, and I don't know if it means meeting every,
Well, we've got
month.
that issue, and then everything else that's coming down.
But, so the chair will consider that.
Multiple reasons to have special
Okay.
meetings, so.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made, second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.
Aye.
Okay, one nay, no. Thank y'all for coming.
Okay.
See y'all.